Tesla has posted 15 job listings in India, and if you go to their website, you can find all of these listings, so we definitely know that it's official. And according to this news report, Tesla has also finalized locations for 2 showrooms, one in Delhi and one in Mumbai. And we also have multiple news reports saying that Tesla could start selling their electric cars in India within the next 3 months. Welcome to our weekly Indian startup news show here at Backstage with Millionaires. I'm Caleb Friesen, your host, and I know that Elon Musk has been talking about coming to India for years, but nothing has happened so far. We've already seen previous negotiations between India and Elon Musk fail due to disagreements over manufacturing requirements, and the government of India wanted Tesla to set up local manufacturing before selling cars, while Elon Musk wanted to first import vehicles to test the market demand before setting up a local factory. And then, of course, there was the case of high import duties, which ranged from anywhere between 70 to 100%, making things even more difficult for Tesla. But a lot of these issues have actually been ironed out. In 2024, India revised its policy, slashing import duties to just 15% for electric vehicle companies willing to invest $500 million into local manufacturing. And this compromise allowed Tesla to start to test the market with imported cars while planned future production in India as well. So for now, it seems that Tesla's vehicles will be manufactured at their Berlin factory, with prices expected to start at 21 lakh rupees in India, which is much cheaper than Tesla's cheapest electric car right now. And the lower import duty means that their cars will be more competitively priced, potentially increasing accessibility for Indian customers. And if demand meets expectations, then Tesla could eventually establish a manufacturing facility in India, aligning with the government's push for local production. All right, next up in the news, and continuing to talk about foreign companies operating within India, Uber has officially moved to a zero commission model for auto drivers in India, following in the footsteps of Namayatri and Rapido. Starting February 18th, auto drivers will no longer pay Uber a percentage of each ride. Instead, they'll pay a fixed subscription fee to use the platform, and the shift also means that the fare shown in the Uber app will only be a suggestion. The final price will now be negotiated directly between the rider and the driver. Uber tested this model last year in 6 cities, including Chennai, Kochi, and Visakhapatnam, before deciding to roll it out nationwide. And with this change, Uber is stepping back from actively managing rides. It will no longer be responsible for cancellations, service quality, or whether a driver refuses a trip. And a company spokesperson said that the move was necessary to remain competitive. For years, Uber and Ola had faced backlash from drivers over high commission rates, with frequent strikes calling for change. And so now that nearly all ride-hailing platforms have adopted a subscription model in India for auto rides, it looks like Uber is now shedding the responsibility for ride standards. But without them enforcing any standards, it's going to be interesting to see how this impacts their service quality and also their pricing. With regards to service quality, I can't imagine it going up. All right, next up in the news, the ePlane company has signed a $1 billion deal with iCAD, India's leading air ambulance provider, to supply 788 electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles across the country. Now, unlike traditional helicopters, these aircraft can lift off from rooftops and small open spaces and then transition to flying like a plane. And with an 8-meter wingspan, they can reach places that conventional air ambulances can't, making them a game changer for emergency medical transport. iCAD is building India's largest medical transport network, and one of their biggest priorities is organ transplants. Right now, 95% of registered organ recipients die before getting a transplant, not because of donor shortages, but due to transport delays. These electric air ambulances could help to solve that problem. The ePlane company's aircraft, called the E200X, is built for rapid emergency response. It can fly at a speed of 200 kilometers per hour, travel up to 200 kilometers on a single charge, and carry a pilot, paramedic, patient on a stretcher, and essential medical equipment. And the goal here is to transport patients 7 times faster than ground ambulances. The ePlane company is the first private Indian company to receive design organization approval for their electric aircraft, and they are planning to start flight tests by mid of 2025, and their first fleet is expected to be operational by late 2026. All right, next up in the news, the founders of Sirona have officially bought back their company from the Good Glamm Group. And they're not just reclaiming ownership, they've actually agreed to absorb some of the brand's debt. So what happened? Why are Deep and Mohit Bajaj going to such lengths to take back the company that they sold? Well, they had originally sold Sirona to the Good Glamm Group in a 450 crore rupee all-cash deal in 2022, though they fully exited only last year. But since the acquisition, Good Glamm, once valued at $1.2 billion, has struggled to manage the brands that they acquire. And the company, which raised over $400 million, hasn't secured fresh equity funding since 2021, leaving many of their brands, including Sirona, starved of resources. And the impact that this has had on Sirona has been drastic. The brand was once generating annual revenue run rate of 140 to 150 crore rupees. That's over 11.5 crore rupees per month. But by December of 2024, their monthly revenue had plunged to just 2 crore rupees. And Deep wasn't happy about this. He didn't sell his brand just to see it go down. In a LinkedIn post, he explained their decision, saying the goal was never just to sell, make money, and then move on. Well, they had a good run at Good Glamm. Shifting priorities at the parent company pushed them to step back in and take control. All right, next up in the news, Zomato has launched Nugget, an AI-powered customer support platform that's already handling 15 million customer interactions every single month. But they're not just keeping this in-house. Instead, they've opened it up to other businesses. According to Deepinder Goyal, Nugget was built over 3 years as an internal tool and has been quietly managing customer support across Zomato's entire ecosystem, including Blinkit and Hyperpure. The platform can resolve up to 80% of customer queries on its own, drastically reducing the need for human support. And this is the first product to come out of Zomato Labs, which is Zomato's internal innovation hub, and it's already gaining traction. According to Deepinder, 90% of companies that have seen Nugget in action have signed up, and this is just the beginning. Zomato is planning to launch more products through Zomato Labs. With Zomato's food delivery growth slowing, could this actually be a potential new direction for the company, or is it just an experiment? I'd love to know your thoughts. All right, now let's move into the funding news segment for today's video. This week, Indian startups raised a total of $149 million, which is lower than last week's $238 million, and it's right on the trend line, actually. So let's take a look at some of the companies that raised funds this week. The first one I want to talk about here is Bengaluru-based B2B e-commerce unicorn Udaan. They raised $75 million in their Series G round, but what's surprising is that their valuation has remained flat at $1.8 billion, and that's probably because even their revenue has remained flat in FY24. Following that, we have Gurugram-based generative AI startup Spine. So if you're running a car dealership and you want to list your cars online, you're going to need to take some pretty good pictures of those cars in order to sell them. And to do that, you'll probably want to hire a good professional photographer to make sure people want to buy those cars. And all of this can be really expensive and time consuming, but Spine lets you turn your normal phone photos into high quality showroom ready images in just a couple of seconds using their AI powered tool. They've raised $16 million in their Series A round. After that, we have Probus, an IoT startup that provides smart monitoring systems that let you track power grids, water pipelines, and other utilities in real time to prevent failures, reduce losses, and improve maintenance. And they've raised $5 million in their Series A round. Next, we have Bengaluru-based Swish Club, and they're basically like Rent Mojo, but with laptops. In case you need to rent a MacBook or multiple MacBooks, you can go to Swish Club and rent it for just 2,542 rupees a month, and they've raised $4.5 million in their pre-Series A round. And then finally, we have Dynol Technologies, and they're making energy-efficient fast EV chargers that can replace slow and inefficient EV chargers. They've raised $1.7 million in their seed round. All right, that is all the Indian startup news that I have for you all this week. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.